Welcome to Pawprints Forever, where every pawprint tells a story of resilience, hope, and love. In today's heartwarming episode, we dive into the journey of Emily and Jake at Paws and Claws Haven, a shelter dedicated to giving animals a second chance at life. Join us as we witness the transformative power of compassion through the eyes of our furry friends, from timid rescues to joyful adoptions. But before we embark on this adventure together, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with fellow animal lovers. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We want to hear from you. Now, settle in, because what you're about to hear will stay with you forever. It was a crisp autumn morning in a small town in Ohio. The leaves crunched underfoot, painting the ground in shades of orange, gold, and crimson. The local animal shelter, Paws and Claws Haven, stood proudly on the corner of Maple Street, a modest brick building with a welcoming sign that read, "Adopt, don't shop." Inside, the air was filled with the soft whines and barks of animals eagerly awaiting their forever homes. Emily, a dedicated shelter worker, arrived for her shift, her heart full of hope and determination. She had been volunteering at Paws and Claws Haven for over 3 years, dedicating her time to helping animals in need find loving families. With her long chestnut hair tied back in a ponytail and her blue Paws and Claws t-shirt, she walked through the entrance, greeted by the familiar sounds of paws pattering against the floors and the excited yips of dogs eager for attention. As Emily made her way through the shelter, she stopped to check on each animal. There were playful puppies, timid cats, and even a few rabbits that always peeked out from their cages. But today, her heart was drawn to a large German shepherd named Max. He was one of the older dogs at the shelter, having been brought in a few weeks ago after being found wandering the streets with a collar but no owner. The staff had noticed that Max had a gentle soul, but he was also guarded and wary of humans. "Hey, big guy," Emily cooed, crouching down to his level. She extended her hand, allowing him to sniff her before offering him a scratch behind the ears. Max hesitated, his dark brown eyes studying her carefully. Slowly he leaned into her hand, the tension in his body easing just a bit. Emily felt a wave of affection wash over her. She knew that dogs like Max needed extra love and patience to open up. As the day unfolded, Emily went about her regular routine, cleaning cages, feeding the animals, and taking them out for walks. She had a special bond with each one, but her heart always ached a little more for the ones that seemed to have lost their will to trust. Max had become her project. She spent extra time with him, hoping to show him that not all humans were to be feared. That afternoon, as Emily was preparing to take Max for a walk, she noticed something unusual. A new volunteer, a young man named Jake, had arrived at the shelter. He seemed eager to help, but also a bit overwhelmed. Emily introduced herself, and they chatted briefly before she handed him a leash to take a dog out for a walk. "Why don't you take Daisy?" she suggested, pointing to a small beagle with floppy ears. Jake smiled and nodded, but his eyes wandered back to Max, who was lying quietly in his kennel. "What about that one?" he asked. His curiosity piqued. Emily hesitated. "That's Max. He's a bit shy, but he has a good heart. Just give him some time." Jake's enthusiasm seemed to dim slightly. "Shy, huh? I can handle it. I've had dogs before." With a reluctant nod, Emily handed Jake the leash for Max. As he approached the kennel, she felt a knot form in her stomach. She knew that Max needed a gentle touch and patience, and she hoped Jake would handle him with the care he deserved. Jake opened the kennel door, and Max, sensing the unfamiliar energy, backed away. "Come on, buddy," Jake coaxed, but Max remained still, his tail tucked between his legs. Frustration flickered across Jake's face, and in a moment of impatience, he reached out to grab Max's collar. What happened next was almost in slow motion. Max, feeling cornered and frightened, instinctively reacted, snapping Jake's hand. The young man jerked back, a look of shock and anger crossing his face. "What's wrong with you?" he shouted, the sound echoing in the quiet shelter. Emily rushed over, her heart racing. "Jake, no!" she exclaimed, placing herself between Max and the new volunteer. "He's scared, not aggressive. You need to approach him differently." But it was too late. Jake, in a fit of anger and frustration, raised his hand and slapped Max across the face. The sound reverberated in the shelter and time seemed to freeze. Emily gasped, her heart breaking for the gentle giant who had done nothing wrong. Max, stunned and hurt, retreated to the back of his kennel, his eyes wide with fear. Emily's heart raced with a mix of anger and sadness as she turned to Jake. "What were you thinking?" she said, her voice trembling. "He's been through so much already. You can't just hit him." Jake's face flushed with embarrassment, but he didn't respond. Instead, he stepped back, the regret evident in his eyes. Emily knelt down, her heart aching for Max, who was now cowering in the corner of his kennel. She reached in slowly, offering her hand again. "It's okay, buddy. I'm here," she whispered, hoping to reassure him. Max peeked out, his big brown eyes filled with confusion and fear. He seemed to remember Emily, and after a moment of hesitation, he moved closer to her hand, allowing her to stroke his fur gently. The warmth of her touch eased some of his anxiety, but the memory of the slap lingered in the air like a dark shadow. As Emily sat with Max, she knew that this was a turning point. She had seen how easily a moment of anger could destroy the fragile trust animals like Max had in humans. She made a silent promise to him that she would do everything in her power to help him heal, to show him that kindness still existed in the world, even when it felt far away. The atmosphere in the shelter felt heavy with the weight of what had just happened. Emily resolved to turn this incident into a lesson, not just for Jake, but for everyone who passed through the doors of Paws and Claws Haven. After all, every animal had a story, and every story deserved to be told with compassion. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the shelter windows, Emily sat with Max, whispering softly to him. "You're safe now. I promise I won't let anyone hurt you again. We'll get through this together." Little did she know, this was just the beginning of an incredible journey of healing and hope for both of them. The days that followed the incident were challenging for both Emily and Max. Emily made it her mission to help Max regain his trust in humans, dedicating extra time to sit with him, speak softly, and build a bond that would erase the painful memories of that day. She knew that Max was not just a dog, he was a survivor, and he deserved a chance to feel safe and loved again. Each morning, Emily arrived at the shelter with a renewed sense of purpose. She would approach Max's kennel with a calm demeanor, kneeling down to his level and offering him treats. "Good morning, Max," she would say gently, holding out a piece of chicken or a small dog biscuit. At first, he would merely sniff the treat and back away, but slowly, he began to inch closer, the hunger for companionship and affection battling with his fear. Jake, on the other hand, had taken a step back after the incident. He avoided Max's kennel, the shame of his actions weighing heavily on him. Emily noticed his reluctance and decided to approach him one afternoon while they were both cleaning the shelter. "Hey, Jake," she began tentatively. "I know you didn't mean to hurt Max, it's just that he's had a rough life, and it takes time for him to trust again." Jake looked up, his expression a mix of regret and frustration. "I know. I didn't think. I just reacted. I've never seen a dog like that before," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "I feel terrible." Emily nodded, understanding his feelings. "It's okay to feel that way. We all make mistakes, but it's important to learn from them. Max needs patience. He needs to know that he's safe." Jake sighed, looking over at Max, who was now lying down, watching them with cautious eyes. "How can I help?" "Just be there for him," Emily suggested. "Sit by his kennel, talk to him softly and give him space. He needs to know that not all humans will hurt him." Encouraged by Emily's words, Jake approached Max's kennel, his heart racing with a mix of anxiety and determination. He remembered how eager he had been to help when he first arrived at the shelter, and now he wanted to right his wrongs. "Hey, boy," he said softly, kneeling down and offering Max a treat, just as Emily had done. "I'm really sorry about what happened." Max lifted his head, his ears perked up slightly. He studied Jake with a cautious gaze, the remnants of fear still evident in his posture. Jake remained still, allowing Max to take the lead. After a few moments, Max cautiously stepped forward, sniffing the treat in Jake's hand. "See? You can trust me," Jake encouraged, his voice low and soothing. Emily watched from a distance, her heart swelling with hope as she saw Max slowly gaining the courage to approach Jake. It was a small victory, but it was a step in the right direction. After a few minutes of coaxing, Max finally took the treat from Jake's hand, his tail giving a hesitant wag. "Good boy," Jake exclaimed, a smile breaking across his face. He looked over at Emily, who was beaming with pride. "I think he's coming around." Over the next few weeks, Emily, Jake, and Max formed an unlikely trio. Jake returned to the shelter each day, determined to make amends. He followed Emily's guidance, learning how to approach Max with kindness and patience. Together they worked on building Max's confidence, taking him on gentle walks around the shelter grounds, allowing him to explore at his own pace. With each passing day, Max began to flourish. He started to trust Emily and Jake, responding to their voices and the gentle strokes of their hands. He even began to play with toys again, rediscovering the joy that had been buried deep within him. The transformation was remarkable. The once timid dog was beginning to emerge from his shell, revealing the playful and loving spirit that had been hidden for so long. One sunny afternoon, Emily decided to organize a special event at the shelter, a Meet Max Day. The goal was to showcase his progress and find him a forever home. She spent hours preparing, creating posters and social media posts, inviting the community to come and meet the gentle German shepherd who had captured their hearts. As the event day arrived, excitement filled the air. Families and animal lovers from all around the town began to gather at Paws and Claws Haven. Emily and Jake set up a small area outside with treats, water bowls, and a shaded spot for Max to relax. They decorated the space with colourful banners that read, "Meet Max, the gentle giant." When the gates opened, Max was initially overwhelmed by the crowd. He stayed close to Emily, seeking comfort in her presence. But as people approached him slowly and respectfully, offering treats and gentle words, Max's confidence began to shine through. He greeted children with soft nudges and accepted pets from adults, his tail wagging with each interaction. Emily watched with a mix of pride and hope. This was the moment she had envisioned for Max, a chance to show the world the loving dog he truly was. As the day progressed, people began to gather around Max, sharing stories of their own pets, and the atmosphere was filled with laughter and warmth. Jake stood nearby, marveling at the transformation he had witnessed in Max and himself. "I can't believe how far he's come," he said to Emily, a sense of accomplishment evident in his voice. "I didn't think I could be so connected to a dog." Emily smiled, remembering how frightened Max had been just weeks ago. "It's all about giving them a chance," she replied. "Every animal deserves love and patience." As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the shelter, a family approached. They were a couple with 2 young children, their eyes sparkling with excitement as they knelt down to meet Max. The children giggled as Max leaned in, allowing them to pet him. The parents exchanged glances, and Emily could sense that a connection was forming. After spending time with Max, the family turned to Emily with hopeful expressions. "We'd love to adopt him," the mother said, her voice filled with warmth. "He's such a sweetheart." Emily's heart raced at the thought of Max finally finding his forever home. She glanced at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. "That would be wonderful," Emily said, her smile widening. "He deserves a loving family." As the adoption paperwork was filled out, Max seemed to sense the excitement in the air. He wagged his tail enthusiastically, leaning into the children's hands, basking in the love they were showering upon him. It was a moment of pure joy, a culmination of their hard work and dedication, and Emily felt tears of happiness welling up in her eyes. The family left the shelter with Max, who looked back one last time at Emily and Jake, his eyes sparkling with newfound hope. Emily waved, her heart full, knowing that Max was on his way to a brighter future. It was a bittersweet moment, but she felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that they had made a difference in his life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily and Jake sat on the steps of the shelter, reflecting on the day's events. "I can't believe we did it," Jake said, a mix of disbelief and pride in his voice. "Max is going home." Emily nodded, her heart swelling with emotion. "And we learned so much along the way. It's incredible what love and patience can do." Jake smiled, a newfound sense of responsibility filling him. "I want to keep helping. There are so many animals out there that need a second chance." With the promise of more adventures to come, they both knew that this was just the beginning. Their hearts were intertwined with the stories of the animals they cared for, each one teaching them valuable lessons about compassion, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond between humans and their furry companions. Little did they know that Max's journey was not only about finding a home, it was about healing hearts and changing lives, including their own. The days turned into weeks, and the success of Max's adoption inspired Emily, Jake, and the rest of the shelter staff at Paws and Claws Haven to continue their efforts to help more animals in need. With each adoption, they celebrated not just the joy of finding forever homes for the pets, but also the connections being forged between people and animals. Emily's heart swelled with pride as she watched how the community began to rally around the shelter, eager to contribute and make a difference. Following Max's adoption, Emily brainstormed ways to keep the momentum going. She initiated a program called Forever Friends, inviting local schools and community groups to participate in volunteering at the shelter. The idea was simple: engage the community with the animals, fostering love and compassion while raising awareness about the importance of adoption. The first Forever Friends event was set for a sunny Saturday in early November. Emily and Jake were busy preparing the shelter, transforming the outdoor space into a vibrant gathering area filled with colorful decorations, tables for crafts, and plenty of dog toys. They invited families to come spend time with the animals, learn about adoption, and participate in various activities that showcase the bond between pets and their humans. As the event day approached, excitement buzzed through the air. On the morning of the event, Emily arrived early, her heart racing with anticipation. She had prepared a special welcome speech to share with the visitors, hoping to inspire them to consider adopting and fostering animals. Jake helped set up the area, bringing out the dogs who were ready to meet new friends. The event kicked off with laughter and joy as families arrived, children running to meet the dogs, their faces lighting up with delight. Emily greeted everyone, explaining the various activities they could participate in, from dog training demonstrations to arts and crafts that involved making toys for the shelter animals. As the crowd gathered, Emily took a moment to look around, her heart swelling with gratitude. The shelter was more than just a building. It was a haven for animals and a place where the community came together to make a difference. She spotted Max's new family, who had returned to the shelter to share their experience with others. They brought along photos of Max happily playing in his new backyard, his tail wagging with pure joy. "Hey everyone," Emily called out, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. "Today is all about love and companionship. Let's show these amazing animals that they are deserving of a forever home." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and the energy was electric. Families began to interact with the dogs, offering treats, playing fetch, and learning about each animal's unique story. Emily noticed a few people lingering near a kennel housing a timid Labrador mix named Bella. Like Max, Bella had been through a rough time, and her gentle demeanor had captured the hearts of those around her. As the event continued, Jake spotted a young girl sitting quietly by Bella's kennel. Her name was Lucy, and she had a soft spot for animals. "Why don't you come over and say hi?" he encouraged, kneeling down beside her. Lucy looked up, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Is she scared?" she asked softly, studying Bella's cautious movements. Jake nodded. "She just needs a little time to feel safe. You can help her by being gentle and patient." With Jake's encouragement, Lucy took a deep breath and approached Bella slowly, extending her hand for the dog to sniff. Bella's ears perked up, and after a moment of hesitation she leaned forward, allowing Lucy to gently pet her. The connection was instant. and Lucy's face lit up with joy. "Look! She likes me!" Lucy squealed, her excitement infectious. Jake smiled, watching as the bond between the young girl and Bella blossomed. Emily joined them, kneeling beside Lucy. "You're doing a wonderful job, Lucy. Bella needs someone like you who can help her feel safe." As the day went on, more stories unfolded. A couple in their 50s found themselves drawn to a playful terrier named Toby, who had an endless supply of energy and love to give. A middle-aged man, who had recently lost his dog, found solace in a golden retriever mix named Sadie, whose gentle nature reminded him of his late companion. Each interaction was a reminder of the healing power of love and companionship. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the shelter, Emily gathered everyone together for a final closing ceremony. "Thank you all for coming today and for opening your hearts to these wonderful animals," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You have made a difference in their lives, and in return, they might just change yours." Cheers erupted once again, and Emily could see the smiles on the faces of everyone present. The Fure Ever Friends event was a success, and she felt a sense of pride knowing that they had created an environment where compassion could flourish. As the crowd began to disperse, Emily noticed Lucy and her family talking with the shelter staff. After a few moments, Lucy's parents turned to her, their faces filled with determination. "We'd like to adopt Bella," they said, a mix of excitement and hope in their eyes. Tears welled in Emily's eyes as she nodded, overwhelmed by the joy of witnessing yet another animal finding a forever home. "That's wonderful! Bella will be so happy with you." Lucy's eyes sparkled with delight as she hugged Bella, who seemed to sense the change in her fortune. Bella, once a timid soul, now had a family to love her unconditionally. It was a beautiful testament to the fact that with patience and kindness, healing was possible. As the evening wound down, Emily and Jake began to clean up the area, their hearts full. "Today was amazing," Jake said, a satisfied smile on his face. "We really made a difference." Emily nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "And it's just the beginning. We have so many more animals that need our help. This community is ready to embrace them." In the weeks that followed, Paws and Claws Haven continued to flourish. More families came forward to adopt, foster, and volunteer, and the shelter became a beacon of hope in the community. Emily and Jake worked tirelessly, dedicating their time and energy to ensure that every animal received the love and care they deserved. As for Max, he thrived in his new home, bringing joy and laughter to his family. They frequently shared updates and photos with Emily and Jake, who were overjoyed to see how far he had come. Max had not just found a home. He had become a cherished member of a loving family, a testament to the power of second chances. With each new day, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that she was part of something greater than herself. The stories of the animals and the humans they touched intertwined, creating a tapestry of love, healing, and hope that would continue to grow, one paw print at a time. Little did they know that as they helped animals like Max, they were also healing their own hearts in ways they never expected. As the holiday season approached, Paws and Claws Haven was bustling with activity. The community's support had grown exponentially, and Emily was thrilled to see so many families coming to adopt pets. Each adoption was a story of hope and healing, and the shelter was filled with laughter and joy. But with the influx of visitors and new animals arriving, Emily felt the weight of her responsibilities growing heavier. One chilly December morning, as Emily was preparing for the shelter's annual holiday celebration, she noticed something unusual. A small group of volunteers had gathered around the back of the shelter, their faces etched with concern. Curiosity piqued. She made her way over to see what was happening. As she approached, she could see a stray dog lying on the ground, shivering and lethargic. The volunteers were trying to coax the dog to stand, but it seemed too weak to move. Emily's heart sank as she recognized the dog, a small terrier mix with matted fur and sunken eyes. This was Charlie, a dog who had been seen wandering the streets for weeks, and despite their efforts to catch him, he had eluded capture. "Emily, we need your help." one of the volunteers, Sarah, said urgently. "He looks really sick." Emily knelt beside Charlie, gently stroking his head. "It's okay, buddy," she whispered, trying to offer comfort. "We're going to help you." She could feel the warmth radiating from his body, but it was clear that he was in distress. His ribs were visible, and he was covered in dirt and debris. Without wasting another moment, Emily called the local veterinarian and arranged for Charlie to be seen immediately. They gently lifted him into a crate, wrapping him in a warm blanket to keep him comfortable during the ride. As they drove to the clinic, Emily's mind raced with worry. What if Charlie didn't make it? What if the trauma he had endured was too great? She felt a wave of guilt wash over her. Had they done enough to help him? The veterinarian examined Charlie, confirming Emily's fears. He was severely dehydrated and malnourished, likely suffering from an untreated infection. "We need to keep him here for a few days for observation and treatment," the vet advised. "He's in pretty rough shape, but with the right care he could recover." Emily nodded, grateful for the vet's expertise but feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on her. She spent the next few days visiting Charlie, bringing him treats and talking to him softly. She could see small improvements. He was slowly regaining strength, and his eyes started to shine with a bit of life. With each visit, Emily shared stories about the shelter and how many animals had found their forever homes, hoping to inspire Charlie just as she had inspired Max. During one visit, she noticed a slight wag of his tail as she spoke about the upcoming holiday celebration. "Soon, you'll be back with us, and we can celebrate together," she promised. "Just hold on a little longer, Charlie." Despite the challenges, the holiday celebration at Paws and Claws Haven went on as planned. The shelter was transformed into a winter wonderland, adorned with twinkling lights and festive decorations. Families, volunteers, and supporters gathered to celebrate the season of giving. There were activities for the children, treats for the pets, and a special adoption drive to encourage families to bring home a furry friend for the holidays. Emily felt a sense of joy as she watched families interact with the animals, but her heart was still heavy with concern for Charlie. She had arranged for him to come back to the shelter as soon as he was stable, but she couldn't shake the worry that he might not make it. The day of the holiday celebration arrived, and the shelter buzzed with excitement. Emily and Jake worked hard to ensure everything was perfect. They had set up a photo booth where families could take pictures with the animals, and there were plenty of hot cocoa and cookies for everyone to enjoy. As the event kicked off, Emily felt grateful for the support of the community. Families adopted pets, and the atmosphere was filled with laughter and joy. Yet, in the back of her mind, the thought of Charlie lingered. Later in the day, the moment Emily had been waiting for finally arrived. The veterinarian called to let her know that Charlie was stable enough to come back to the shelter. "He's still weak, but he's improving," the vet said. "I think the love and care you've shown him has made a difference." Emily's heart soared. "Thank you so much. I'll come right away to get him." When she arrived at the clinic, she was met with a wagging tail and bright eyes. Charlie had a bandage on his leg, but he seemed to recognize her immediately. "Hey there, buddy," she said, kneeling down to give him gentle scratches behind the ears. "Are you ready to go home?" With the vet's instructions in hand, Emily carefully lifted Charlie into the crate, making sure he was comfortable. The drive back to the shelter was filled with hope. She could hardly wait to show him the love and warmth of the shelter community that had supported him from the start. As she walked into Paws and Claws Haven, the holiday festivities were still in full swing. Emily brought Charlie to a quiet corner where he could rest and take in the sights and sounds of the celebration. She set up a cozy bed for him and placed a few toys nearby, hoping to encourage him to play when he was ready. As the evening progressed, families gathered around Charlie, drawn in by his gentle spirit. Emily introduced him to everyone, sharing his journey and the challenges he had faced. "Charlie is a survivor," she said proudly. "He's looking for a loving home, just like so many of our animals." To her delight, families were intrigued. The atmosphere was filled with warmth, and she could see how Charlie's story resonated with many. People approached him carefully, offering treats and gentle pets, and as the night wore on, Charlie began to relax, his tail wagging softly in response to the love he was receiving. Emily watched with a mix of hope and anxiety. The celebration had been a success, but she couldn't help but wonder if Charlie would find his forever home. Just as she was beginning to lose herself in thought, a young couple approached her. "We've been watching Charlie," the woman said, her eyes filled with compassion. "We'd like to adopt him." Emily's heart leaped. "Really? That's wonderful," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement. "He's such a sweet boy and deserves a loving family." As the couple spent time with Charlie, Emily could see the bond forming. He leaned into their touches, his eyes sparkling with newfound hope. The adoption paperwork was filled out with smiles and laughter, and as the couple prepared to take Charlie home, Emily felt a wave of joy wash over her. "Thank you for giving him a chance," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "He's been through so much, and I know he'll bring so much love into your lives." As they left, Charlie looked back at Emily, his eyes sparkling with gratitude and love. She waved goodbye, knowing that he was going to a place where he would be cherished. The holiday celebration continued long into the night, filled with laughter, joy, and stories of hope. Emily and Jake shared a moment together, reflecting on the incredible journey they had been on. "You know," Jake said, a smile on his face, "I never thought working at a shelter could be so rewarding. Every animal has a story, and every story deserves a happy ending." Emily nodded, her heart full of gratitude for the community that had come together to support the shelter. "We're making a difference, one paw print at a time." As the last of the guests left, Emily felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had witnessed the power of compassion and kindness, and she knew that their work at Paws and Claws Haven was far from over. Each animal that came through their doors had the potential to change lives, and with every adoption, they were creating a ripple effect of love that would continue to spread throughout the community. Little did she know, the journey ahead would challenge her in ways she never expected. But with the support of her friends, the community, and the animals they cared for, Emily was ready to embrace whatever came next. As the new year dawned, the excitement from the holiday celebration lingered in the air at Paws and Claws Haven. The shelter was buzzing with activity, and Emily felt invigorated by the outpouring of support from the community. More families continued to visit, eager to adopt pets and share in the joy of companionship. However, with the increase in visitors' adoptions came an unexpected challenge. One January morning, Emily and Jake arrived to find that several new animals had been brought into the shelter. A local animal control officer had delivered a group of dogs that had been rescued from an abusive situation. The dogs were frightened and confused, each one carrying the weight of their past experiences. Emily's heart sank as she saw the state they were in. The dogs were dirty, matted, and appeared to be underfed. Among them was a scared little beagle mix named Daisy, whose trembling body curled into a tight ball in the corner of her kennel. Emily knew that these dogs would require extra love and care, and her heart ached for each of them. "We need to act fast," Emily said to Jake as they surveyed the dogs. "They're going to need medical attention, grooming, and a lot of patience. We can't let their past define their future." Jake nodded, determination written across his face. "I'll get started on the medical evaluations. We need to assess their health and make sure they're safe to be around the other animals." While Jake tended to the medical needs of the dogs, Emily focused on creating a calm environment for them. She spent time sitting by each kennel, talking softly to the dogs and offering treats. Her goal was to help them realize they were safe now, that they would never have to experience fear or pain again. As the days went by, Emily and Jake worked tirelessly to rehabilitate the new arrivals. They brought in a local groomer who volunteered her time to clean up the dogs, and slowly but surely the dogs began to emerge from their shells. Daisy, in particular, showed signs of progress. Although she was still timid, Emily could see glimmers of curiosity as she cautiously approached the bars of her kennel to sniff the treats Emily offered. One evening, as Emily was cleaning the kennels, she noticed Daisy watching her intently. "You're such a brave girl, aren't you?" Emily cooed, her heart swelling with compassion. "I know it's scary, but we're going to take good care of you." Suddenly, Daisy took a tentative step forward, her little tail wagging slowly as she moved closer to Emily. Encouraged, Emily knelt down, offering her hand. "It's okay, sweet girl. You can trust me." For the first time, Daisy sniffed Emily's hand and then nuzzled against it, a small but significant step toward trust. Emily's heart soared. She knew this was the beginning of Daisy's journey toward healing. However, as the days turned to weeks, the shelter faced another challenge. The local animal control had received reports of a severe cold snap heading their way, with temperatures dropping to dangerous lows. Emily and Jake knew they had to prepare the shelter and the animals for the impending weather. "We need to make sure all the dogs have warm bedding and plenty of food," Emily told Jake, her brow furrowed with concern. "We can't let them suffer in the cold." Together they worked late into the night, stocking up on blankets, towels, and extra food. They set up heated beds in the kennels and made sure each dog had enough warmth to keep them comfortable. But even with all their preparations, the thought of the cold weather weighing down on the vulnerable animals kept Emily awake at night. The cold snap hit a few days later, and the temperatures plummeted, paws and claws. Haven became a sanctuary for the animals, and Emily felt a sense of relief knowing they were safe. She and Jake spent extra time in the shelter, checking on the animals and ensuring they were warm and comfortable. One evening, as they sat together in the common area sipping hot cocoa, Emily's eyes wandered to Daisy's kennel. The little beagle mix had been making progress, and Emily felt a sense of urgency to help her find a forever home before the cold weather took a toll on her spirit. "I think Daisy is ready for a meet and greet," Emily said, her voice filled with excitement. "She's been responding so well to us, and I believe she could really shine in front of potential adopters." Jake's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. We can do a small adoption event for her and the other new arrivals. Let's invite the community to come meet them." They quickly organized a Warm Hearts for Cold Days adoption event, inviting families to visit the shelter and meet the dogs. Emily spent the days leading up to the event working with Daisy, encouraging her to trust more and to feel comfortable in new surroundings. On the day of the event, the shelter was filled with warmth from the heaters and the laughter of families as they arrived. Emily set up a cozy space for Daisy, complete with blankets and toys. She hoped that Daisy's gentle spirit would shine through, capturing the hearts of anyone who came to meet her. As families mingled and interacted with the dogs, Emily felt a mix of hope and anxiety. She watched as Daisy cautiously approached visitors, her tail wagging slightly as she took treats from their hands. The transformation was evident. Daisy was no longer a frightened soul hiding in the corner, but a dog eager to connect. Amidst the laughter and joy, a young couple approached Emily, their faces filled with warmth and kindness. They had been watching Daisy as she interacted with the children, and Emily could see the interest in their eyes. "She's adorable," the woman said, kneeling down to Daisy's level. "What's her story?" Emily shared Daisy's journey, her past filled with fear and uncertainty, and how far she had come in such a short time. "She just needs a loving home where she can feel safe," Emily said, her heart hopeful. The couple exchanged glances, their smiles growing wider. "We'd love to adopt her," the man said, his voice filled with sincerity. "We can see how special she is." Tears filled Emily's eyes with joy. "That would be amazing. She deserves a family who will love her." As the paperwork was completed, Emily felt a sense of triumph wash over her. She had witnessed the power of love, patience, and community, transforming Daisy's life. When the couple finally took Daisy home, she looked back at Emily, her eyes filled with gratitude and trust. Emily waved goodbye, knowing that Daisy was embarking on a new chapter of her life, one filled with love and security. As the event concluded, Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had not only found a loving home for Daisy, but had also given hope to the other dogs who still awaited their turn. Though the shelter faced many challenges, with every adoption, they were making an impact, and Emily knew they were creating a ripple effect of kindness and compassion within their community. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a new chapter. The challenges ahead would test her resilience, but with the support of her friends, the community, and the animals they cared for, Emily was ready to face whatever came next. The journey of Paws and Claws Haven was far from over, and there were many more stories waiting to be told. As the weeks went by, Paws and Claws Haven continued to thrive. The successful adoptions of Daisy and other animals had invigorated the community, and Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. However, she knew that the shelter's mission was far from complete. There were still many animals waiting for their chance at a loving home. One chilly February morning, as Emily was organizing supplies in the shelter, she received a phone call from the local animal control officer. "Emily, we've got a situation," the officer said, her voice tinged with urgency. "We just rescued a group of cats from a hoarding situation. They're in rough shape, and we need a place to take them." Emily's heart sank at the thought of more animals in need, but she quickly steeled herself. "Of course we can take them. How many are there?" 7. "They're scared and need socialization, but they're all healthy enough to be transported. Can you take them today?" "Absolutely. We'll be ready," Emily replied, feeling a mix of determination and concern. When the officer arrived with the cats, Emily was struck by the overwhelming scent of fear and neglect. The cats were housed in separate crates, each one wide-eyed and trembling. They had all been rescued from a small, overcrowded home where they had lived in cramped conditions, and it was clear that they were terrified of their new surroundings. Emily and Jake quickly set about bringing the cats into the shelter. They set up a quiet area away from the dogs, creating a safe space for the felines to acclimate. As they opened the crates, Emily spoke softly to each cat, offering treats and gentle pats to help them feel more at ease. Among the cats was a striking tabby named Luna, her green eyes wide with fear. She crouched low in her crate, clearly hesitant to come out. Emily knelt beside her, speaking soothingly. "It's okay, Luna. You're safe now. We're going to take care of you." Jake, noticing Luna's reluctance, added, "Some of these cats might take a little longer to adjust. Let's give them space and let them come to us when they're ready." For the next few days, Emily and Jake focused on creating a nurturing environment for the new arrivals. They provided plenty of hiding spots and cozy beds, giving the cats the opportunity to explore at their own pace. Emily spent countless hours sitting quietly with them, reading out loud or softly singing to help them feel more comfortable. Slowly but surely, the cats began to adjust. Luna, in particular, started to show signs of curiosity. One afternoon, as Emily was cleaning, she caught sight of Luna peeking out from her hiding spot. "There you are, beautiful," Emily said, smiling. "You're getting brave." Encouraged by Luna's progress, Emily decided it was time to introduce her to the other cats. She carefully opened the door to their shared space, allowing Luna to venture out. To her delight, Luna stepped out cautiously, her ears perked up as she explored her new surroundings. Meanwhile, the other cats, each with their own unique personalities, were starting to come out of their shells as well. There was Jasper, a fluffy orange tabby who loved to play, and Mittens, a sleek black and white cat who had a penchant for mischief. Emily found herself captivated by their antics, and she knew that with time, they would all be ready for adoption. One evening, as Emily was preparing for bed at the shelter, she received a message from Jake. "Can we talk? There's something I need to discuss with you." Curious and slightly anxious, Emily replied, "Of course. What's up?" Jake arrived shortly after, his expression serious. "I've been thinking about our recent rescues and how we can help more animals. I know we've been focusing on dogs and cats, but I think we should expand our outreach to include foster families." Emily's interest piqued. "That's a great idea. Foster families can provide temporary homes for animals in need, which can help us manage our resources better." "Exactly," Jake said, nodding. We could host an informational meeting to recruit foster families, and we can share stories about the animals we've helped. It could also attract more adopters. Emily's heart swelled with excitement at the thought. Let's do it. We can set a date for next month and I'll start creating materials to share with the community. They spent the next few days organizing the event, reaching out to local businesses for support, and creating flyers to promote the meeting. The anticipation grew, and Emily felt a renewed sense of hope. If they could find more foster families, they would be able to save even more animals like Luna, Daisy, and the new group of cats. As the date of the foster family meeting approached, Emily focused on preparing the shelter. She wanted to create an inviting atmosphere that would encourage people to get involved. She decorated the meeting room with photos of the animals they had rescued, showcasing their transformations and the joy they brought to their new families. On the night of the meeting, Emily and Jake welcomed families into the shelter, their excitement palpable. They shared stories about the animals they had saved, emphasizing the importance of fostering. Every animal deserves a chance, Emily said, her voice filled with passion, and with your help, we can make a difference. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Families expressed interest in fostering, asking questions about the process and how they could help. Emily felt a spark of hope as she saw the community coming together to support the shelter's mission. As the meeting concluded, a young woman approached Emily, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. I'd love to foster. I've always wanted to help animals, but I didn't know how. Emily beamed with joy. That's wonderful. We'll provide you with all the information you need and we'll support you every step of the way. In the following weeks, the shelter saw a surge in interest from potential foster families. More people stepped forward, eager to help the animals in need. Emily and Jake worked diligently to match families with pets, ensuring that each animal would be placed in a loving environment where they could thrive. With the help of the community, Emily felt a sense of optimism growing within her. They were not only saving animals, but also creating a network of compassionate individuals dedicated to making a difference. And as Luna and her feline friends continued to blossom in the shelter, Emily knew that they were on the brink of something incredible. Yet, despite the progress they were making, Emily remained acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. The shelter's work was never truly done, and each day brought new surprises and hurdles. Little did she know, a significant challenge was looming just around the corner, one that would test her resolve and the strength of Paws and Claws Haven in ways she never anticipated. As spring approached, the atmosphere at Paws and Claws Haven was filled with optimism. The fostering program was thriving, and the community's engagement had never been stronger. Emily and Jake felt a sense of fulfillment as they watched animals find loving homes, and they were excited about the future. However, just as they were settling into a rhythm, an unexpected crisis loomed on the horizon. One rainy afternoon, Emily received a frantic phone call from a neighboring shelter. "Emily, we're in a dire situation," the director said, her voice shaking. "We've just had an outbreak of kennel cough and we need to find temporary housing for our animals. Can you help?" Emily's heart sank. Kennel cough, while often mild, could spread quickly and pose a serious risk to animals in close quarters. "How many animals do you need to house?" she asked, her mind racing with the implications. "About 20. We're trying to contain the outbreak, but we need to act fast." Emily felt the weight of the situation pressing down on her. The shelter was already at capacity with the recent influx of animals. "I'll do everything I can to help," she promised, knowing that the welfare of the animals was the priority. After hanging up, Emily turned to Jake, who had been listening intently. "We have to prepare the shelter for the new arrivals," she said, her voice firm. "We need to set up a separate area to prevent the spread of kennel cough." Jake nodded, determination in his eyes. "We can section off the back area of the shelter. We'll need to set up additional kennels and keep the new arrivals away from the other animals until we're sure they're safe." They quickly mobilized the existing volunteers, working tirelessly to create a designated space for the new dogs. Emily felt a mixture of anxiety and resolve as she organized the incoming animals. "We can do this," she reassured herself. "We have to." When the neighboring shelter's team arrived with the dogs, Emily felt her heart ache at the sight of so many frightened faces. The dogs were loaded into crates, their eyes wide with confusion. Emily approached each one, speaking softly to reassure them. "You're safe now. We're going to help you." Once the dogs were settled into their temporary kennels, Emily and Jake began the process of monitoring their health. They worked closely with the veterinarian to ensure that all necessary precautions were taken. Emily knew that keeping the other animals safe was paramount, and she was determined to do everything in her power to prevent the outbreak from spreading to Paws and Claws Haven. As the days went by, Emily found herself overwhelmed by the sheer volume of work. She was juggling the care of the new arrivals while also managing the regular operations of the shelter. Jake was a tremendous help, but the stress was beginning to take its toll. One evening, after a long day, Emily sat down in the common area, her head spinning from exhaustion. She looked around at the shelter, filled with the sounds of barking dogs and the scent of cleaning supplies. Despite the chaos, she felt a deep sense of purpose. But just as she was collecting her thoughts, a sudden commotion erupted from the back of the shelter. "Emily, come quick!" Jake shouted, rushing into the room. Panic surged through her as she followed him to the back, where the newly arrived dogs were housed. A few of them were barking frantically, and one particular dog, a large German Shepherd mix, was exhibiting signs of distress, pacing back and forth in his kennel. "What's going on?" Emily asked, her heart racing. "I think he's having a panic attack or something," Jake replied, his voice tense. "He won't stop barking and he seems really agitated." Emily approached the German Shepherd mix slowly, sensing his fear. "Hey there, buddy," she said softly. "It's okay. You're safe. I'm here." The dog's eyes were wild, and he continued to pace, ignoring her attempts to calm him. She knew that stress could exacerbate the kennel cough, and if he didn't settle down, it could lead to complications. "Let's try to get him outside for a little while," Emily suggested. "Maybe some fresh air will help him relax." With Jake's help, they carefully opened the kennel door and coaxed the dog out. He hesitated, then bolted outside, his energy explosive. Emily watched as he ran in circles, barking and growling, clearly overwhelmed by the new environment. "Stay calm," Emily urged, keeping her distance to allow him to release his pent-up energy. "You're okay. Just breathe." After a few minutes, the dog began to tire, and Emily seized the opportunity. She crouched down, extending her hand slowly. "Come here, buddy. Let me help you." To her surprise, the dog approached, though he was still on edge. Emily offered him a treat, and after a moment of hesitation, he took it from her hand. "Good boy," she praised, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. "You're doing great." With patience, Emily sat outside with him, allowing him to calm down. She spoke softly, sharing stories about the other dogs and how they were all in this together. Gradually, the dog's body relaxed, and he sat down beside her, resting his head on her knee. "See? You're safe," she whispered, feeling a bond beginning to form. Over the next few days, they continued to work with the German Shepherd mix, whom they named Ace. With each passing moment, he began to trust Emily and Jake more, showing glimpses of the loving dog he could be. Emily felt a spark of hope. She knew that with time and care, Ace would find his way to a happier state of mind. Meanwhile, the other dogs from the neighboring shelter were also adjusting. The team at Paws and Claws Haven worked diligently to monitor their health, ensuring that they were receiving proper care and attention. Emily was grateful for Jake's support as he took on a significant portion of the workload, allowing her to focus on Ace and the other animals. However, just as things began to settle down, a new complication arose. One morning, Emily noticed that a few of the dogs were showing mild symptoms of kennel cough. Her heart dropped at the realization that the outbreak was spreading. "Jake, we need to take immediate action," she said urgently. "We have to isolate the affected dogs and notify the vet." They quickly moved the symptomatic dogs into a separate area, taking extra precautions to prevent further spread. Emily felt a sense of dread wash over her as she watched the sick dogs. She knew that kennel cough could be managed, but the stress of the situation weighed heavily on her heart. With the help of the veterinarian, they implemented a treatment plan for the affected dogs, and Emily spent hours administering medications and comforting them. She felt the strain of the crisis weighing on her, but she refused to let fear take over. As the days turned into weeks, Emily and Jake worked tirelessly to provide care for the dogs. They kept the rest of the shelter informed and organized, and they communicated regularly with the community to reassure them that the shelter was taking all necessary precautions. Through it all, Ace continued to thrive. As he grew stronger, he became a source of inspiration for Emily. His resilience and determination reminded her of why she had dedicated her life to helping animals. One day, as Emily was sitting in the yard with Ace, she noticed how he had transformed. He was no longer the anxious dog that had first arrived at the shelter. Instead, he was playful and eager to explore. Emily felt a sense of pride as he chased a ball, his tail wagging joyfully. "Look at you, Ace," she laughed, clapping her hands. "You're such a good boy." It was in these moments that Emily found her strength. Despite the challenges they faced at Paws and Claws Haven, she knew that they were making a difference. She could see the impact of their hard work reflected in the animals they cared for, and she felt a renewed sense of hope. As the kennel cough outbreak began to subside, Emily and Jake prepared for the next phase of their journey. They knew that the shelter wouldn't always be easy, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the support of the community, they were determined to continue their mission and create a safe haven for animals in need. And as Ace continued to grow and heal, Emily couldn't help but believe that he too would soon find his forever home, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the unwavering spirit of Paws and Claws Haven. Little did she know, a new opportunity for Ace was just around the corner, one that would change his life forever. As winter melted into spring, the atmosphere at Paws and Claws Haven became vibrant with the colors of blooming flowers and the sounds of birds chirping outside. The shelter was beginning to feel like a sanctuary again, and Emily and Jake worked diligently to care for the recovering dogs. Ace had fully embraced his new life, and each day he grew more confident and playful. With the kennel cough outbreak finally under control, Emily felt a renewed sense of hope. The remaining dogs were responding well to treatment, and several were ready for adoption. She knew it was time to organize another adoption event, one that would showcase the animals who had fought hard for their second chances. "Let's make this a big event," Emily suggested to Jake as they sat in the shelter's office, brainstorming ideas. "We can invite the community to come meet the dogs, and we can share their stories. We could even have a Meet Ace section to highlight his journey." Jake grinned. "I love that idea. Ace has come so far, and he deserves to steal the spotlight." They began planning the event, reaching out to local businesses for sponsorship and organizing fun activities for families. They decided to call it Spring into Love, hoping to encourage families to find their new furry companions just in time for the warmer weather. As the day of the event approached, Emily made it a priority to spend extra time with Ace, helping him become accustomed to the hustle and bustle of a big crowd. She wanted him to feel comfortable and confident, knowing that he would be a potential candidate for adoption. On the day of the event, the shelter was transformed into a lively gathering space. Colorful banners adorned the entrance and tables were set up with information about each available dog. Emily had prepared a special booth for Ace, complete with his favorite toys and a comfortable bed. As families began to arrive, Emily felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She welcomed each guest with a smile, sharing the stories of the animals and detailing their unique personalities. The energy in the air was infectious, and she could see the joy on the faces of the children as they interacted with the dogs. Ace was a star from the moment the gates opened. He greeted visitors with a wagging tail and an eagerness to make new friends. Emily watched with pride as he interacted with families, allowing children to pet him and even play fetch with the older guests. "Look at him go," Jake exclaimed, pointing to Ace as he chased a ball across the yard. "He's really in his element." Emily nodded, her heart swelling with happiness. "He's come so far. I can't believe how much he's changed." As the day progressed, several families expressed interest in adopting Ace. Emily was thrilled but also felt a pang of anxiety at the thought of letting him go. He had become such an integral part of her life and the shelter. One family, a couple with 2 children, seemed particularly drawn to Ace. They spent a significant amount of time interacting with him, playing games and cuddling. Emily watched as the children laughed, their faces lighting up with joy each time Ace brought the ball back to them. "Do you think he'd be a good fit for our family?" the mother asked Emily, her eyes sparkling with hope. Emily smiled, her heart racing. "I truly believe he would be a wonderful addition to your family. He's affectionate, loyal, and loves to play. He just needs a loving home where he can continue to thrive." After an extensive conversation about Ace's journey and the importance of providing a stable environment, the family decided to move forward with the adoption. Emily felt a bittersweet rush of emotions as they filled out the paperwork. "Congratulations," she said, her voice warm with sincerity. "You're going to love him. He has so much love to give." As the family prepared to take Ace home, she knelt down to his level, holding him close. "You're going to be so happy, buddy. I know you'll bring them so much joy," she whispered, fighting back tears. When Ace looked back at her, she saw a mix of gratitude and excitement in his eyes. He was ready for this new chapter, and it filled Emily with hope. As the family left the shelter, Ace happily trotted alongside them, his tail wagging furiously. Emily waved goodbye, feeling a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment wash over her. She knew that she had played a part in giving him the second chance he so richly deserved. In the days following the adoption event, the shelter continued to flourish. More families came forward to adopt, and Emily felt a sense of pride as she watched the animals find their forever homes. The fostering program also thrived, with more families offering to open their hearts and homes to animals in need. However, as spring blossomed into summer, Emily received another call that would change the course of their mission. The local animal control had discovered a large number of animals abandoned in a nearby park, and they needed immediate assistance in providing shelter for the influx. "Emily, we have about 30 animals that need a place to stay," the officer said, her voice strained. "They're in desperate need of care, and we can't leave them out here. Can you help us?" Emily knew that Paws and Claws Haven was already at capacity, but there was no way she could turn her back on these animals. "Yes, we can help," she replied resolutely. "We'll figure out a way to accommodate them." After hanging up, Emily turned to Jake, who had been listening intently. "We need to prepare for more arrivals. It's going to be a challenge, but we can't let these animals suffer." Jake nodded, his expression serious. "We'll need to rally the community again. They've been so supportive in the past. We can do a supply drive to gather essentials, and we can reach out to our foster families." With a renewed determination, Emily and Jake quickly organized a community meeting to discuss the situation. They explained the urgency of the matter and how the community could help. Volunteers stepped forward to offer their time and resources, and soon the shelter was buzzing with activity again. As the animals from the park were brought in, Emily felt a wave of compassion wash over her. Each one had a story, and each one deserved a chance at love and happiness. With the help of the community, Paws and Claws, Haven transformed into a bustling hub of activity, filled with the sounds of barking dogs and mewing cats. The work was grueling, but Emily felt invigorated by the support of community. With every animal that arrived, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that together, they could create a safe haven for those who had been abandoned and neglected. As the summer wore on, Emily's heart swelled with hope. The shelter was a testament to the power of love and compassion, and every animal that found its way through the doors was a reminder of the difference they could make. Little did she know, the bond between her, Jake, and the community would soon be put to the ultimate test as they faced challenges that would challenge their resilience and commitment to their mission. But for now, they were ready to embrace whatever came their way, united in their love for the animals they cared for. As summer reached its peak, Paws and Claws Haven was a whirlwind of activity. With the influx of animals from the nearby park, the shelter was bustling more than ever. Emily and Jake worked tirelessly alongside volunteers and foster families, ensuring that each animal received the love and care they so desperately needed. The community had rallied around the shelter, organizing donation drives for food, blankets, and medical supplies. Emily felt a swell of gratitude as she watched families drop off their contributions, knowing that every little bit helped. However, the sheer number of animals in their care was overwhelming. Each day brought new challenges as they navigated feeding schedules, medical treatments, and socialization efforts. One afternoon, Emily sat down with Jake to evaluate their current situation. They had just rescued a total of 30 animals, and the shelter was at full capacity. "We need to figure out a long-term plan," she said, her brow furrowed with concern. "We can't keep taking in more animals if we can't find homes for the ones we already have." Jake nodded, his expression serious. "I agree. We need to ramp up our adoption efforts and maybe even host a special event to showcase all the new arrivals." "Let's do it," Emily replied, her determination igniting. "We can call it Summer of Love and feature all the animals that need homes. We can partner with local businesses for sponsorship and even set up a petting zoo with some of our friendlier animals to draw in families." With their plan in place, they quickly set to work organizing the event. Flyers were distributed, and social media posts were created to spread the word. Within days, excitement began to build in the community as families marked their calendars. As the Summer of Love event approached, Emily found herself feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She wanted it to be a success, not just for the shelter, but for the animals that needed homes. The day before the event, she stayed late at the shelter, making final preparations and ensuring that everything was in order. But just as she was about to leave, she received an urgent call from the local animal control. "Emily, we've got another emergency," the officer said, her voice frantic. "We've discovered a hoarding situation in the area, and we need immediate assistance. There are over 50 cats that need to be rescued." Emily's heart dropped. 50? That's a huge number. I don't know if we have the capacity to take them all. We're trying to find other shelters to help, but we need a place to keep them temporarily, the officer explained. They're in dire need of medical attention, and they can't stay where they are. Emily took a deep breath, her mind racing. "Okay, we'll help. Just tell me what we need to do." After hanging up, she turned to Jake, who was still in the office. "We need to prepare for another influx of animals. 50 cats are being rescued, and they need a place to go." Jake's eyes widened. 50. That's a lot, especially with everything else going on. "I know, but we can't turn our backs on them. We'll have to work around the clock to make it happen," Emily replied, her voice steady. They quickly called in volunteers and reached out to their network of foster families, explaining the urgent situation. To her relief, many stepped forward, eager to help. "We can do this," Emily reassured Jake. "We just have to stay organized and focused." The next day, the shelter was a whirlwind of activity as the cats arrived. Each cat was frightened and in varying states of neglect, and Emily's heart ached for them. She and Jake quickly set up a designated area for the cats, ensuring that they were separated from the other animals to minimize stress. As they worked to assess each cat's condition, Emily felt a mix of hope and despair. Some cats were friendly and outgoing, while others were shy and terrified. They spent hours cleaning, feeding, and comforting them, trying to help them adjust to their new environment. Despite their efforts, Emily began to feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her. The shelter was bursting at the seams, and she was worried that they wouldn't be able to find homes for all the animals. As the days passed, she found herself waking up in the middle of the night, worrying about the cats and the other animals they cared for. One evening, while sitting with the new cats, Emily noticed a petite grey tabby named Cleo, who had curled up in a corner, watching everything with wide, fearful eyes. Unlike the others, Cleo didn't seem to respond to Emily's gentle coos or the treats she offered. Instead, she remained distant, her body tense. "Hey, little one," Emily said softly. "You're safe here. I promise I'll take care of you." But Cleo didn't budge. Emily knew that some animals took longer to adjust, and she was determined to help her. Every day she spent time sitting quietly near Cleo's space, reading aloud and offering treats, hoping to coax her out of her shell. Meanwhile, the Summer of Love event was just around the corner, and Emily poured her heart into making it a success. She decorated the shelter with colorful banners, set up an adoption area, and prepared information packets about each animal, highlighting their stories and personalities. The day of the event finally arrived, and Emily was filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The sun shone brightly, and families began to arrive, eager to meet the animals. Emily welcomed each guest with a smile, her heart racing as she introduced them to the dogs and cats available for adoption. As the event unfolded, families interacted with the animals, and Emily felt a sense of hope blossoming. Many people were drawn to the friendly dogs and the playful kittens, and she could see the joy on their faces as they bonded with the animals. Just as it seemed the day was going well, a loud commotion erupted from the back of the shelter. Emily's heart dropped as she rushed to investigate. She found a group of volunteers trying to calm down a large dog named Bruno, who had become agitated and was barking wildly. "What happened?" Emily asked, her voice steady even as her heart raced. "He saw a few of the cats and I think he got startled," one of the volunteers explained. "We're trying to keep him calm, but he's really worked up." Emily knelt down beside Bruno, speaking softly to him. "Hey buddy, it's okay. You're safe. Let's take a few deep breaths together." As she worked to calm him down, she felt the weight of the situation pressing down on her. She knew that with so many animals in one place, there was a risk of stress and anxiety escalating. They had worked so hard to create a positive environment, and she refused to let chaos take over. After a few tense moments, Emily successfully calmed Bruno, and she felt a rush of relief. But as the event continued, she couldn't shake the feeling of unease. With so many animals in the shelter, she worried that one incident could lead to a domino effect. As the day wore on, families began to adopt animals, and Emily felt a sense of joy as she watched pets find their forever homes. But even as she celebrated the successes, she couldn't shake the concern for the remaining animals, especially Cleo, who continued to hide away. In the following days, after the excitement of the event had settled, Emily returned to her mission of helping Cleo. She spent time near her space, offering treats and speaking gently. Slowly, Cleo began to trust her, inching closer each time Emily visited. One evening, as Emily sat quietly reading aloud, she caught sight of Cleo peeking out from her hiding spot. "You're getting brave," she exclaimed softly, her heart racing with excitement. Cleo took a hesitant step forward, her green eyes wide with curiosity. Emily held her breath, knowing that this was a pivotal moment. "It's okay, sweet girl. You can come closer." With a tentative movement, Cleo stepped out, inching closer to Emily. The moment was electric. Emily held out her hand, offering a small piece of tuna, and Cleo sniffed it cautiously before taking it from her fingers. Over the next few days, Emily continued to nurture their bond. Cleo began to venture out more frequently, exploring her surroundings and interacting with Emily. Each small sign of progress filled Emily with hope, and she felt a growing connection with the timid cat. As Cleo's confidence grew, Emily began to think about finding her a forever home. She was reminded of how far they had both come, Cleo from a life of neglect and fear, and Emily from the challenges of running the shelter. They were both on a journey of healing, and Emily knew that they could find happiness together. As summer began to fade into autumn, Emily felt a renewed sense of determination. She had witnessed the power of love and compassion within the shelter, and she knew that with every challenge they faced, there was an opportunity for growth and change. Little did she know that the bond she was forming with Cleo would soon lead to a life-changing moment for both of them, one that would solidify their connection and remind Emily of why she had dedicated her life to helping animals in need. But for now, she remained focused on Cleo's journey, hopeful for the bright future that awaited them both. As the leaves began to turn vibrant shades of orange and gold, signaling the arrival of autumn, the atmosphere at Paws and Claws Haven shifted. Emily felt a sense of urgency as she worked tirelessly to find forever homes for the remaining animals in her care. The shelter was still bustling with activity, but she was determined to ensure that every animal found the love and security they deserved. Cleo had made incredible strides in her journey toward trust. After weeks of gentle coaxing and encouragement, she had begun to seek out Emily's company, often curling up next to her during quiet moments in the shelter. Emily cherished their bond, and she felt a sense of pride in how far Cleo had come. As autumn deepened, Emily decided it was time to organize a special adoption event with a fall theme. She envisioned a Fall in Love event where families could enjoy pumpkin-themed activities while meeting the animals. This could be our chance to get Cleo and the other animals adopted before winter sets in, she mused as she shared her idea with Jake. Sounds perfect. We can have a pumpkin carving station and even a bake sale, Jake replied, his enthusiasm infectious. And we can create a cozy reading nook where kids can read to the animals. With renewed energy, they began planning the event, reaching out to local businesses for sponsorship and organizing activities. Emily also created special profiles for each animal, including Cleo, highlighting their personalities and stories. As the day of the Fall in Love event approached, Emily poured her heart into preparing the shelter. She decorated the space with autumn leaves, pumpkins, and warm blankets, creating an inviting atmosphere. She worked late into the night, ensuring everything was perfect for the families who would come to visit. On the day of the event, the shelter was alive with laughter and excitement. Families arrived in droves, eager to meet the animals and participate in the activities. Emily felt a rush of joy as she watched children carve pumpkins, play games, and interact with the dogs and cats. As the event unfolded, Emily made sure to highlight Cleo, setting up a cozy corner where families could come to meet her. She shared Cleo's story, how she had been rescued from a hoarding situation, and how far she had come since arriving at the shelter. Emily emphasized how special it was to see Cleo blossom into the gentle, affectionate cat she had become. Throughout the day, families visited Cleo's corner, and Emily could see the warmth in their eyes as they interacted with her. Cleo was cautious but curious, slowly inching closer to visitors and accepting gentle pets. Emily felt a rush of hope. Perhaps this would be Cleo's day to find her forever home. As the afternoon sun began to set, a couple approached Cleo's area. They had 2 young children with them, and the family seemed instantly drawn to her. Emily introduced them to Cleo, sharing her journey and how far she had come. "This is Cleo," she said, kneeling down to Cleo's level. "She's a sweet girl who just needs a loving family to help her continue growing." The children knelt beside Cleo, their eyes wide with wonder. "Can we pet her?" the little girl asked, her voice filled with excitement. "Of course," Emily replied, watching with a mix of hope and anticipation. The family approached Cleo gently, allowing her to sniff their hands before offering soft strokes. To Emily's delight, Cleo responded positively, purring softly as the children giggled with joy. Emily could see the bond forming, and her heart swelled with happiness. As the evening progressed, the family spent more time with Cleo, engaging in playful interactions and gentle cuddling. Emily felt a sense of optimism growing within her. This could be the perfect match. Eventually, the couple turned to Emily, their expressions serious yet hopeful. "We really love Cleo. We think she would be a great fit for our family. Can we adopt her?" Emily's heart soared. "Absolutely. She would be so happy to join your family. I can't think of a better home for her." As they filled out the adoption paperwork, Emily felt a mixture of joy and bittersweet sadness. Cleo had become such a significant part of her life, and knowing she would be leaving was difficult. But deep down, Emily knew this was what she had always wanted for Cleo, a loving family where she could continue to thrive. When the family was ready to leave, they carefully picked Cleo up, and she nestled comfortably in the little girl's arms. Emily knelt down, looking into Cleo's green eyes. "You're going to be amazing, Cleo. You'll be loved every day, and I can't wait to hear all about your adventures." As they walked out of the shelter, Emily waved goodbye, her heart filled with hope. Cleo was finally going home, and she would have the chance to live a happy, fulfilling life. The Fall in Love event continued, and many other animals found their forever homes that day. Each adoption brought a sense of fulfillment, and Emily felt the weight of the world lift from her shoulders. The hard work, dedication, and love that she, Jake, and the community had poured into Paws and Claws Haven were paying off. In the weeks that followed, the shelter continued to thrive. More families stepped forward to adopt, and the fostering program expanded, creating a network of loving homes for animals in need. Emily felt a deep sense of gratitude for the community and the support they had shown. One evening, as Emily was cleaning up after a long day at the shelter, she received a message from the family who adopted Cleo. They had taken a few photos of her settling into her new home, and they shared how well she had adjusted. Reading their words filled Emily with warmth and joy. She knew that Cleo had found her place in the world. As Emily sat at her desk, reflecting on the journey, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had faced numerous challenges, but each one had only strengthened her resolve to help animals in need. The bond she had formed with Cleo and the other animals at Paws and Claws Haven would stay with her forever. Little did she know, more adventures awaited her and the shelter in the months to come. New animals would arrive, new challenges would arise, and new stories would unfold. But one thing was certain: Emily was ready to embrace whatever came next, fueled by the love and compassion that had brought her this far. As she stepped outside, breathing in the crisp autumn air, she felt a sense of peace. The stars twinkled above, and she knew that as long as there were animals in need, she would be there to help them find their way home. Together with Jake, the community, and the unwavering spirit of Paws and Claws Haven, they were creating a legacy of hope, one pawprint at a time. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey at Paws and Claws Haven. We hope you were inspired by the stories of love and second chances that unfolded before your eyes. Remember, every like, subscription, and share helps us spread the message of compassion for animals in need. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Pawprints Forever for more heartwarming tales. And we want to know, where are you watching from? Share your location in the comments below. Together, we can make a difference, one pawprint at a time. Until next time, keep spreading the love.